Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the Luffy Fanfics, back with amazing fanfiction. This is the movie of What If Mastermind Luffy Ate Mind Devil Fruit. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. A cruise ship sailed past a small whirlpool in the East Blue. With the captain and most of the crew occupied in the ballroom, a skeleton crew manned the deck. Two of the sailors were just shooting the breeze when one blinked and pointed off into the distance. Are my eyes broken, or is that a man riding a sea king? His fellow looked in the direction his shipmate indicated and squinted. He rubbed his eyes to make sure he wasn't seeing something that wasn't there before taking a second look. He nodded numbly. Well, what do you know? That is a man riding a sea king. A tan young man, couldn't be older than 20 if that, was standing on the head of a gray eel-like sea king. He wore a red vest, jean shorts, and a golden straw hat with a red ribbon. His sandaled feet were balanced perfectly on the sea monster's crown, keeping him dry and above the spray as the beast swam through the surf. The two sailors watched incredulously as the Sea King pulled up alongside the ship. With a mighty leap, the lad went from the creature's head onto the deck. The team looked at the two of them and waved his hand in a dismissive gesture. You didn't see anything. And he walked through the door down to the lower decks as if he owned the place. The two sailors froze for a second before resuming their earlier conversation, the encounter they just had completely forgotten. Luffy withdrew his mind from theirs after the mind wipe and acquiring knowledge on the layout of the ship. Erasing memories made him uncomfortable, not as uncomfortable as puppeteering or direct compulsion. But it still twinged his conscience. Not for the first time in the 10 years since getting them, Luffy thanked whatever gods were out there that his powers belonged to someone with a conscience like himself. In the hands of a villain, they'd be catastrophic. The mind fruit was as simple as it was dangerous. Eating it granted the user complete control of their own mind and access to every mind in a kilometer radius. It would have been overpowered enough just by turning Luffy from the village idiot to a beyond genius IQ with photographic memory. But telepathy and mind control were part of the package too. If he so desired, Luffy could brainwash everyone he met into his willing slave, their every secret laid bare to him. Luckily for the world, Luffy had no desire to do any such thing. He just wanted to gather a crew of like-minded dreamers, sail the Grand Line, find One Piece, and become Pirate King, all with minimal usage of his powers, unless he or his nakama were in true danger. Then woe betide the poor soul who went after his crew looking for trouble. Luffy shook himself out of his rumination and made for the kitchen. He hadn't had lunch yet, time to grab some food. Better hurry, though. That ship of pirates he sensed at the edge of his range felt like they would attack soon. He faintly heard the sound of cannonballs whistling through the air before the ship began to rock from the shockwaves of the iron balls impacting the water. Make that now. They were attacking now. Luffy found the ship pantry and ate as fast as he could chew. No idea where his next meal was coming from. Best to eat until he was stuffed just in case. Once he couldn't eat another bite, Luffy rubbed his bloated stomach and idly scanned the mines on the two ships. There was one on both that drew his interest. On the cruise ship was a girl, Nami, who was a seasoned pirate thief. Luffy absorbed and reviewed a lifetime of memories with a second's effort and felt his heart go out to the indentured servant of Arlong. Maybe he'd go out of his way to help her. Plus she was a top-notch navigator, was going to need one of those for his crew. On the pirate ship, there was the cabin boy, Kobe. Luffy could tell right away that the boy was a spineless weakling. But his mind had good bones. There was potential there. He could be a giant rather than an ant. He just needed the right encouragement to grow. Calculating the next 200 moves in his head, Luffy planted a subliminal suggestion in Kobe's mind and waited for the young boy to come find him. Sure enough, while most of the Alvida pirates, captain included, headed for the ballroom, Kobe scurried through the decks to the entrance to the kitchen. Hello. Luffy grinned and waved. Hi there, I'm Luffy. I'm a pirate who snuck on board. What's your name? Kobe jumped, surprised someone actually answered. Hello, I'm Kobe. Nice to meet you. I'm, one of the pirates raiding this ship. Luffy tilted his head. Begging your pardon, but you don't look like a pirate. What are you, their slave or something? Kobe winced. Just about. I got on the wrong boat to go fishing and wound up on Alvida's ship. I've been her cabin boy for 2 years now. Why not run away? Luffy asked, already knowing the answer but having to wait for Kobe to give it. One of the drawbacks of mind reading. Conversations could get painfully repetitive or tedious as someone took the time to speak what Luffy had already sensed in their head. Kobe shivered. I can't. Just thinking about it scares me. Alvida would come after me with her iron mace. So you're a coward, Luffy said bluntly. Kobe hung his head. You don't have to say it like that. How else should I say it? Faint-hearted, craven, chicken-livered. You succumb to fear rather than overcoming it, Luffy said starkly but not unkindly. If you don't like it, do something about it. Their conversation was interrupted by 3 of Alvida's goons walking in. Kobe, so you were hiding out here with this stowaway? Kobe dissolved into a babbling mess while the lead grunt pointed his sword in Luffy's face. Hand over your valuables, he snarled. Luffy moved the blade to the side with his index finger. I don't feel like fighting the riffraff. Go get your boss and tell her a rival captain is issuing a challenge. And throw in that she's ugly as sin while you're at it. Now why the hell would I do that? The cur sneered, trying to straighten his blade with zero success. Luffy's finger was as immovable as the red line. Luffy looked into the goon's eyes. Because I asked nicely, Luffy said, his voice cold as death. The pirate saw something in those eyes that terrified him more than Captain Alvida ever had. Sheathing his blade, he grabbed the other two lackeys and raced for the ballroom. Kobe gulped. How did you do that? He asked, amazed to see one of his main tormentors besides Alvida run off with his tail between his legs from just a look and some words. Bullies are all the same. Once they realize they're dealing with a bigger fish, they lose all their bluster, Luffy said wisely. So, back to you. What would you be doing if you weren't Alvida's henchman? Kobe straightened his glasses. Well, I always dreamed I'd be a marine. Catching bad guys, you know. But that's never going to happen. Not with that attitude, it won't, Luffy replied. If you want your dream to come true, you have to act as if it's a guarantee and every act leading up to it is just ensuring the inevitable. We are what we choose to be, after all. Kobe gulped. What's your dream then? Me, I'm going to be Pirate King, Luffy declared with absolute certainty. Kobe's jaw dropped to around his knees. TP Pirate King. Then, you plan to go to the Grand Line. Find One Piece. Yes and yes. Soon as I get a decent crew together and a worthy vessel, Luffy said, sensing an enraged presence start heading their way from the direction of the ballroom. Kobe started waving his arms erratically. It's impossible. Impossible, I say. Every pirate in the world is striving to claim that title. Luffy will be killed before he makes it halfway there. It's impossible, impossible, impossible. Luffy covered Kobe's mouth and pierced him with a look that reached down into the Rosette's very soul. I know it's a dangerous path, and there's every chance I could die. But I'd rather die chasing my dream than live safe without one. Everybody dies, Kobe. But until I do, I intend to live. Luffy leaned in. Tell me, Kobe, just how much do you want to be a marine? Are you going to lay it all on the line? Or are you going to just give up before you start? A fire seemed to be lit in Kobe's eyes. You're right, Luffy. I'd rather die alive than live dead anymore. I'm going to become a marine and catch bad guys like Alvida. No, I'll catch Alvida myself. The doorway exploded into splinters as a morbidly obese woman smashed a hole big enough to fit her bulk. Who are you going to catch, Kobe? Growled the unfortunately featured woman. Kobe looked in danger of a heart attack while Luffy regarded the owner of one of the most self-absorbed, narcissistic minds he'd ever encountered, and he'd scanned most of Goa's nobility. Alvida regarded Luffy with narrowed eyes. So, you're the rival captain. I don't see your crew anywhere. We all gotta start somewhere, Luffy shrugged. I was just going to beat the stuffing out of you because I was bored, but then I met Kobe. So now I'm going to kick your ass, dissolving your crew, and freeing him up to enlist. Alvida got a tick mark. Kobe, I'll give you one chance to redeem yourself. Who's the most beautiful woman on the seas? Kobe trembled as he looked at the woman whom had bossed and belittled him for 2 years straight, but one glance at Luffy made him stand firm. Not you, you ugly, fat, mean, old whale, he shouted in full voice. Alvida snapped, roaring her rage as she rushed at Kobe. In the blink of an eye, Luffy stood in the way. A second later, there was a hole in the ceiling and Alvida could be vaguely heard screaming her oversized ass off as she was sent express towards the sky. Luffy grabbed Kobe and jumped up to the main deck. Luffy took one look at the assembled pirate gang and just didn't feel like beating up opponents so weak. Using his devil fruit to reach into their minds, Luffy commanded, sit down, shut up, and wait for the Marines to arrest you. The Buccaneers one and all sat down on the deck, placid as grazing cattle. Kobe gaped. How did you do that? Now why would a pirate tell a Marine a secret like that? Luffy teased. But since we're friends, I'll tell you. I ate the mind fruit. I can make people think or do whatever I want. But I don't like using it in a fight cause it feels like cheating. While Kobe marveled at that nugget of information, Luffy looked up as Alvida stopped rising from his uppercut and was reclaimed by gravity. Winding up the knockout punch, Luffy hit her in the gut just as she was about to touch the deck. She was sent flying into the distance. Kobe gulped. Luffy, I'm guessing your fruit and your freakish strength are unrelated. Luffy dithered. Yes and no. I read the minds of a couple of the strongest people on the planet when I was growing up, so I knew just what to do to get as strong as them. I had to put in the blood, sweat, and tears all on my own, though. The two of them quickly prepared a rowboat and lowered into the waters just in time to catch Nami loading Alvida's treasure into her own rowboat. Luffy grinned at the shocked redhead. Hi there. I think we're both headed for the nearest island. Am I if we sail together? Her answer was swallowed by the explosion of cannonballs hitting the water. The Marines had arrived, and of course protocol was to sink the pirate ship even at the risk of civilian. Fine, whatever, just don't get in my way. Nami yelled as she began to paddle madly. Kobe mimicked her while Luffy just enjoyed the ride. 15 minutes later, the ships were out of sight and the boats slowed their mad retreat. Now that things have calmed down, let's start over. Hi, I'm Monkey D. Luffy. I'm a peace main captain who just set out today. Luffy have his sunny grin while laying a hand on his hat. I'm Nami. I'm a thief who steals from pirates. What the hell is a peace main? Nami replied. I'm Kobe and I'd also like to know. Kobe spoke up. It's simple, really. Just as Marines can run the gamut from paragons of justice to corrupt villains who abuse their power, pirates fall on a spectrum. At one end you have the Morganeers, the rape, pillage, plunder type like Don Krieg or Sawtooth Arlong. Basically, black-hearted criminals who'd shoot a puppy or sell their mother into slavery to get what they want. At the other extreme are the peace mains, free spirits like me who live for adventure on the high sea. Whitebeard and Shanks are excellent examples. And then of course some crews fall somewhere in between. Luffy lectured. Nami clutched her shoulder at the mention of Arlong, and her face reddened with rage as she realized the key point of Luffy's speech. Wait, you're a pirate? Luffy nodded, and proud of it. But like I said, I'm a peace main. I'm a good pirate. No such thing, Nami hissed. Well, take our situation right here and now. If I were like the pirates you're used to, I'd have killed you and stolen that bag of treasure by now. Instead, we've had a perfectly civil discussion as we sail peacefully on our way. Nami came up short as she realized the truth of those words. Well, maybe this conversation is just a ruse to lower my guard. Luffy's face lost all humor. Nami and Kobe both shivered as the temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Nami, if I wanted, I could do so much worse than kill you. Be thankful I'm not that way inclined. Nami gulped, unable to meet those cold eyes. Whatever, let's just get to port and then we never have to see each other again. As you wish. Luffy turned to Kobe. So, Kobe, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Roronoa Zoro being detained at the marine base in Shell Town? Kobe nodded eagerly. It was all over the news. The notorious bounty hunter captured. I can't remember what he was charged with, though. Luffy grinned. Maybe I'll spring him. If he's a good guy. My crew could use a swordsman. Nami scoffed while Kobe freaked out. He's been imprisoned because he's a bad guy. Luffy, you can't really be thinking of inviting him onto your crew. It's impossible. Impossible, impossible, impossible. Luffy once again found himself covering Kobe's mouth with his hand. Kobe, a bounty hunter turning pirate is not impossible. If you knew half of what I know about the world, you'd see how downright ordinary such a thing is compared to all the other impossible things out there. Kobe had nothing to say to that. They passed a couple hours in silence, following Nami's unspoken course adjustments until they arrived at the dock of Shell Town. See you never, Nami waved dismissively after she tied up her stolen boat. Luffy chuckled and muttered to himself. A month from now, you'll wonder how you ever lived a life without me as your nakama. Deciding to give it time, Luffy nudged Kobe. So, ready to achieve your dream? Kobe gulped. I'm really anxious. I don't know if I can actually go through with it. Relax, you don't go chasing after pirates on day one. They'll start you out as chore boy. Should be familiar work to you. Kobe chuckled nervously. Okay, I'm ready. They marched up the main road to the marine base. At the closed gate, Luffy clapped Kobe on the back. Well, here it is. Up to you now. I'm going over to check out Zoro. Luffy walked the perimeter of the wall until he was directly opposite the exhausted but still powerful mind he sensed. Then, Kobe for some reason still following him, Luffy jumped up to hang from the wall and look into the courtyard. Zoro had clearly seen better days. He was tied to a post in a way that bordered on crucifixion. H.I.'s clothes were dusty and blood-stained. He was soaked in sweat from the hot sun, yet his eyes, glaring out from under his bandana, were resolute, unyielding, determined. Luffy wanted a man with that kind of conviction on his crew. Kobe joined Luffy and gasped. Green hair, black bandana, haramaki. That's definitely Roronoa Zoro. A ladder clanked beside them. A little girl carrying a bundle shushed them with a finger and then swung from a cloth rope to the other side of the wall. Kobe flipped out. Luffy, he's going to hurt her. You have to save her. Luffy gave Kobe a side look. I can safely say he won't. Trust me, I know him a hell of a lot better than you do. In fact, I know him better than he knows himself. He'd never even think of hurting a child. While Kobe was confronted with the reality of Luffy's telepathic ability, the little girl walked up to Zoro. Hello, big bro. I thought you might be hungry so I made you some rice balls. It was my first time but I tried extra hard. Zoro glared at her. Don't want em. Get lost. Luffy sensed the incoming presences, deduced the likely outcome, and decided to intervene. But I made them with all my heart, the girl said, hurt. Are you deaf? Get out of here. Zoro shouted, yelling at the air now. Zoro, is the sun starting to get to you? Came a nasally, pretentious voice. Rika, stay very still, Luffy projected into the girl's mind. She blinked but didn't move an inch. Helmeppo, the spoiled son of Captain Morgan who ran the base, proceeded to mock and taunt Zoro, all the while oblivious to Rika's presence. He left with a sarcastic wave with his marine escort. Rika and Zoro both tilted their heads. It's like they couldn't see me, she said, confused. Because they couldn't. I didn't let them notice you, Luffy explained, now standing in the courtyard near both of them. Zoro eyed the new arrival. Who are you and how'd you do that? Monkey D. Luffy. My devil fruit made me psychic. I went into their minds and blocked them from seeing Rika here. And now that the danger's passed, you really should accept her rice balls. She made them with love, after all, Luffy encouraged. Rika looked up at Zoro with big puppy eyes. Oh, all right. Give them to me. Zoro ate every bite, despite the use of sugar instead of salt. They were delicious. Thank you very much, Zoro told Rika. Rika cheered and made to climb back over the wall, leaving the grown-ups to talk. You read minds, huh? Prove it, Zoro challenged. 2001 losses, Luffy said plainly, making Zoro jerk at the reminder from his past. So why are you here? Come to gawk at Roronoa, Zoro all tied up. Zoro asked once he recovered. No, I'm here to free you. On the condition you join my pirate crew, Luffy stated. Zoro blinked, then laughed out loud. Thanks but no thanks. I have no intention of throwing my life away. Join my crew, sail with me on the Grand Line, and you'll become 10 times the swordsman you ever thought you could be. And you'll have a much better shot at meeting that man on my crew than you would playing around here in East Blue. Luffy grinned diabolically. Besides, Helmeppo is planning to execute you tomorrow. He never intended to honor your agreement, so your choices are me or a firing squad. Zoro processed all that before smirking. Are you the son of the devil? Fine, you make a good case. Get me my swords, free me, and I'll sail with you. But know this, my goal is to become the world's strongest swordsman. Get in the way of that, and you'll apologize on the end of my sword. Luffy returned the smir. It would be embarrassing if the Pirate King's swordsman was any less than the world's best. I'll go get your swords. If I take a while, it's because I took a detour to kick the Marine captain's ass. See ya. With that, Luffy vanished in a blur of speed. Zoro waited patiently, hearing some kind of commotion on top of the base tower, before Luffy came back with Wado Ikamanji and 2 ordinary swords. Behind him came a stream of celebrating Marines. What's got them so cheerful? Zoro asked his new captain as the young man made to untie him. The captain, Axe Hand Morgan, was running this island like his own private fiefdom. He ruled with an iron fist, demanding tributes, execution for innocent things, the whole nine. I kicked his ass into some but ugly statue he had built and broke both. The Marines are cheering because they're freed from a tyrant. Watch them still kick me off the island since I dare to call myself a pirate, Luffy explained as he freed his first nakama. Zoro, freed from the ropes, stretched to get some feeling back in his limbs. Any chance we can have dinner before that happens? Those rice balls just reminded me how hungry I am. 3 weeks, I'm surprised you're still standing. Sure, I know a great place. Luffy led Zoro to Rika's mother's pub, joined by Kobe, whom had been informed of Morgan's and Helmeppo's sins by Rika. Once Luffy introduced himself as the vanquisher of Morgan, all 3 of them got to eat for free. Zoro leaned back and rubbed his belly after his 10th plate. Nothing like survival food. Not that starving is worth the extra flavor, but I agree, Luffy said, finishing his 9th plate and deciding enough was enough. It's not like his stomach could expand or something. Kobe rubbed his head. I didn't do anything, but I ate a lot myself. It's no trouble. Anything for our heroes. Rika's mother, said brightly. Luffy ignored his knee-jerk offense to the H word and turned to Zoro. To answer the questions you're about to ask, it's just the 2 of us, our ship is a rowboat, and our next destination is Orange Town. Zoro blinked before nodding. Right, psychic. So, how does that work exactly? Luffy shrugged. It's not that complicated. I can feel every mind for a click in every direction. If I pay attention to one or a few in particular, I can hear the thoughts going through their head that moment. If I reach in and actively try to do something, I can do everything from learn their life story to make them believe they're an 8-year-old girl named Brittany from Mary GOIs. I mostly use it just to gather information. Stuff like blocking Rika from sight makes me uncomfortable. I don't like messing with free will. Zoro rose a brow. But, if you wanted to, you could be even worse than Morgan. You could have a whole island worshipping you as their god. Luffy winced. Yeah, which is why I train my body so hard, so I don't have to resort to mind tricks. How strong are you, if you don't mind my asking? Kobe spoke up. You sent Alvida flying. Your muscles must be superhuman. Luffy chuckled. Superhuman is a very low bar on the Grand Line, Kobe. I'd give myself fair odds against a vice admiral or one of the weaker Shichibukai. Against an admiral or New World captain, I'd be a warm-up at best. And a Yonko, Sengoku, or Mihawk would squash me like a bug. But, always getting stronger, still training every day. One of these days, I'll get strong as my Gramps. Commander Ripper walked in at that moment. Before he could open his mouth, Luffy was standing up. We're going. Don't care that you're reporting this to HQ. Be a better boss than Morgan, okay? Half an hour later, after being saluted away by Kobe and the entire Marine base, Luffy paused in adjusting the sail to turn to Zoro. Zoro, I have an offer. I read the minds of a few New World swordsmen when I was a kid. There's also a force called Haki that almost everyone in the big leagues uses. I can teach you all that the usual, slow way. Or I can just copy it into your mind, the fast way. If that feels too much like cheating, I understand. Zoro considered it. So, I'd just blink and be a better fighter. Well, you'd still have to train how to use it all properly. And your physical condition wouldn't improve any, just your knowledge and experience. But basically, yeah, a few years worth of lessons crammed into a few seconds. Zoro got a shark's grin. Do it? Luffy blinked, then prepared the memory packet and transferred it to Zoro's mind. The greenhead clutched his skull. GAH, you could have warned me about the headache. I told you I was cramming years of learning into an instant. I thought it was implied, Luffy fired back. Zoro moaned in pain for a few minutes while his brain assimilated all the raw information that had been dumped into it. He whistled when it all settled in and he had a chance to review it. I was just a frog at the bottom of his well. I had no idea what a real swordsman could do. Cutting steel, flying blade attacks, cutting steel with a flying blade attack, etc., Luffy listed. I'm pretty sure Mihawk once cut a mountain in half because it got in his way. And Haki, so versatile. Observation and armament. How does anyone not fight with them? Zoro raved. It was times like this where the fact he was still a teenager, albeit an extremely mature one, shined through. Well, except for the Marine elites and New World pirates, few know they even exist. Which is why it'll be such a surprise when the whole crew knows how to use both. Plus I have conquerors. Not that I really need it with my fruit, but still. Luffy chuckled, caught up in his nakama's enthusiasm. Zoro narrowed his eyes. Who did you get these memories from? And if you know all about being a swordsman, why'd you recruit me in the first place? Luffy shrugged. Same people I got the fruit from. For whatever reason, red-haired Shanks and his crew visited my island 10 years ago. We became really good friends, and I accidentally ate the devil fruit they were carrying. No idea what it was. They were really nice. Let me practice my new powers on them until they had to leave. So I have the collective experience of a Yonko's crew stashed in my brain. Plus my Gramps is Garp the Fist, so I know all about marine fighting techniques and a bunch of juicy classified intel. As for why I needed a swordsman, quite simply, I'm not one. I'm a brawler through and through. I might know how to wield a blade better than half the world's population in theory, but I have no desire to exercise it in practice. So I recruited you and now I gave you all the memories that I have that could help you be a better swordsman. Zoro nodded, turning to regard the sunset. I see. Well, thanks for the upgrade. Even as relatively weak as I am right now, all this experience and technique will make me double or triple as deadly as I was this morning. Just have to work on getting fit enough to put all the really good stuff to use. Luffy nodded. Yeah, not that we can really work out in a dingy or have any equipment. So I guess we'll have to wait until we're on land or we get a proper ship. Zoro nodded, yawning. So, why Orange Town? What's waiting for us there? I've got my eye on a potential navigator for the crew. She's headed to Orange Town to steal Buggy the Clown's map of the Grand Line. We're going to help while I wind up the recruitment pitch. Luffy's eyes darkened. She's already beholden to another captain, so we'll have to take care of that before we leave East Blue. Shouldn't be a problem for a crew as capable as ours, though. Zoro grunted, starting to nod off. Great. Well, good night, Captain. Night, Zoro. Sweet dreams. Luffy grinned as his nakama drifted off to dreamland. He had lost all sense of privacy from constant use of his powers, and one of Luffy's favorite activities was to peek on people's dreams. They were just so fascinating, unique to each person. Zoro was dreaming that he was training in a field by carrying and cutting a bunch of boulders. That was dedication to self-improvement right there. Luffy focused on maintaining their heading. Nami had long since left his range, but he knew exactly where she'd been headed, so it should be simple enough to catch up with her. He personally didn't need sleep. His mind was always razor sharp and clear, the result of his fruit's power. He grabbed a nap every few days to give his body a chance to recharge. But slumber was a quaint chore for him ever since he ate the mind fruit rather than a daily necessity. Luffy kept sailing through the night, eager to reach the next island and the next adventure. It took 2.5 days to reach Orange Town. Their provisions were a sack of apples and a couple loaves of bread that Luffy had hastily purchased on their way to the dock when they'd left Shell Town. When Zoro asked why Luffy couldn't just command a few fish to jump onto the deck, his captain countered, "Are either of us sushi chefs? No. Is it safe to light a fire on a rowboat? No. Will either of us be eating meat before we dock? No." Luffy proved to get even pricklier than Zoro when he went 2 or more meals without protein in a row. Zoro kept his complaints to a minimum under the vague fear of being brainwashed into a mindless drone should he irk his psychic captain too much. When they weren't grumbling about the lack of good food to eat, they passed the time chatting. Luffy already knew everything about Zoro, and he saw nothing wrong with returning the favor. Luffy told his swordsman about the red hair pirates, his grandfather, his foster brothers, Daden's gang, and the Goa Kingdom. Luffy also casually dropped that he was the son of Dragon, the most wanted man on the planet. Zoro didn't really care, but he saw how some would freak out at the fact. Who cared about your parentage? What mattered was what you were made of, not who made you. On the third day, Luffy perked up and adjusted the tiller. Good, we're catching up with her. Damn, she's a good navigator to work the wind and currents to beat us there. Care to explain? Zoro prompted, wondering what had perked his captain's interest. Nami stole a boat from a few of Buggy's minions. I don't feel like letting them drown, so we're going to pick them up. Then we'll continue on to Orange Town and convince her to be our navigator. Might say hi to Buggy, see if he recognizes my hat. Luffy used his physical voice, even though telepathy was faster, because he didn't want to weird out his nakama. Plus, it didn't really save that much time. Zoro nodded and returned to his meditation. While he knew how to access his haki thanks to the memory dump from Luffy, his body seemed to still be catching up with the program. He'd needed an extreme amount of focus just to hear Luffy's voice with observation when he was just a couple feet away. Apparently, like every other muscle, Zoro had to train his spirit to access his weaponized ambition. Soon enough, the breeze carried the two on their tiny boat to where three colorfully dressed pirates were treading water. Please, help, we'll drown, they called out desperately. Luffy squinted slightly. A second later, the men stopped talking and silently swam over to their boat. The three hauled themselves aboard, sat down next to each other at the aft of the boat, and stayed quiet with blank eyes. Zoro shivered. No offense, Luffy, but your powers can be downright creepy. Now you see why I try to not use them that often. But I just didn't feel like it was worth the effort to beat them into submission and decided to cheat using my handy mind control. Now, we should be at Orange Town within the hour. Let's hope Nami hasn't gotten into any trouble. True to his word, Luffy docked them at Orange Town about 45 minutes later. Zoro stretched as he stood on solid ground again while Luffy guided the three nameless peons to go to their hammocks in their ship and have a nice nap. Luffy joined Zoro and closed his eyes and brought a finger up to his temple in a gesture of focus. The town's deserted. Buggy must have chased them out when he set up base here. The only mines in my range are us and our passengers. So how are we going to find this navigator woman? Zoro asked. The traditional way. Look. Luffy crouched and then jumped over 100 feet into the air. He surveyed the town from his bird's eye view, and then landed right where he'd leapt smooth as silk. I saw a big commotion on a rooftop near the middle of town. Let's start there and see what we find. Zoro nodded, a slight frown on his face. If only I knew a few years ago what you taught me. I could have trained so much better, so much more efficiently. I'm nowhere near your level physically. You'll get there, fast. If the Grand Line is anything like how I remember it, Luffy assured him. They wandered through the town, and Luffy paused when they got in sight of the tavern where Buggy's crew had set up base. Nami's being chased. She already stole the map. Let's make sure she doesn't get roughed up and dragged before Buggy. With that, Luffy took off at a pace that Zoro could just barely keep up with at his best sprint. They came across the redhead thief with three of Buggy's mooks hot on her heels. Luffy rushed past her and knocked out all three with one punch per man. Zoro just caught his breath and regarded the woman that had caught his captain's interest. In a purely male part of his brain, he acknowledged she was conventionally pretty, but the rest was unimpressed. She seemed like a weakling, and Zoro despised weakness. Nami blinked as she adjusted to this turn of fortune. Then she recognized Luffy and her face settled into an annoyed frown. Oh, you again. Nami, been so long. We really must catch up, Luffy said jokingly as he wiped the blood off his knuckles. I've got nothing to say to you, she said, turning her face away with a HMPH. Luffy sighed. Come now, I just saved you from a beating, possibly a gang rape. And that's before they brought you back to Buggy. You can at least show me a drop of gratitude. Nami tensed, well aware of what would have happened had those ruffians caught up with her. Fine, thanks. Since you're a pirate, you obviously want something in return. What is it? Luffy got a serious look on his face. I know who you work for, Nami, and I know why. I propose a deal. I beat the crap out of him and free your island. In return, you sail with me on my crew. And I promise, so long as you help me become Pirate King, I'll help you draw your map of the world. Nami gaped at him. How do you know all that? Have you been spying on me? Zoro chuckled. He ate a devil fruit. He can read minds. He knows all there is to know about everyone he meets. You'll get used to it. Nami turned to regard the former bounty hunter. Okay, you are new. You this idiot's crewmate. As of 3 days ago, I am. And it's already proven to be well worth it. Zoro shrugged. I don't know your situation, and frankly I don't really care. But I can say I've had a lot more fun and excitement since I met Luffy than I've had in my life so far. And he's promised to help me achieve my dream. I consider it my honor to return the favor. Ah, thank you, Zoro, Luffy said with a grin. Nami's jaw dropped. Zoro, like the Zoro. That's my name. Don't wear it out, Zoro said deadpan. Before Nami could respond, Luffy had a premonition from his observation. which he always tried to keep passively active, hit the deck. He grabbed Nami and dove for the ground. Zoro did likewise, trusting his captain. Not far from them, a massive cannon blast devastated a large swath of the town. In a straight line from Buggy's lair to the edge of town, there was nothing but wreckage. When their ears stopped ringing, the three teens got back on their feet and marveled at the carnage. I heard he was a little trigger happy from Shanks, but this is something else, Luffy said to himself as he regarded the destruction. Nami distanced herself from the pirate captain. This is what pirates are. Forget your Morganeer and Peacemain bullshit. They're scum of the earth, all of them. Then what does that make you, Nami? Luffy asked pointedly. She hung her head. A girl forced to play the hand the world dealt her. You never answered me. I take out Arlong. You be my navigator. Interested? Nami threw back her head and laughed. You're delusional if you think you can take on Arlong. He's unbeatable. Luffy sighed. Okay, clearly I need to work a different angle here. Don't join my crew. I'll hire you instead. How does 10 million berry for the first month sound? Nami whipped her head to look at Luffy incredulously. Show me the money or no deal, she said immediately, all compunctions against piracy forgotten at the promise of berry. Luffy reached into his pocket and pulled out a simple black and gold checkbook. The clasp that held it close was of a stylized C. Nami gasped. Is that a Zenith checkbook? Yes, Luffy finished for her. Zoro turned from looking at the debris of so many houses. What's a Zenith checkbook? Since Nami seemed to be too busy drooling, Luffy elected to answer. Zenith checkbooks are only issued to Zenith account holders. The minimum amount to open a Zenith account is 100 million berry. Zoro whistled. Geez, how'd you end up with that kind of money? My home island has one of the richest cities in East Blue. Whenever an old nobleman or noblewoman died, I may or may not have used my powers to convince them to send some of their inheritance into a numbered account. Once I reached 1 billion, I figured it would be safer to bank with Zenith. They're neutral and anonymous. Even the world nobles use them. Nami seemed to snap out of her daze. You're a billionaire. On paper, it's all numbers and ink. I don't have any cash on me. But take one of these checks to any bank in the world and they'll cash it for you. So, what do you say? 10 mil for a month of your navigational services? Luffy tilted his head. Combined with your haul from Alvida and what you can fleece from Buggy, this would put you over the required amount, wouldn't it? Nami's eyes turned to blurry signs. What would you have me do, Captain? Luffy took out a pen tucked into the checkbook and calmly signed away 10 of his millions. He cut the check and handed it to Nami, who clutched it like it was made of pure gold, which it might as well have been. No offense to her, but you sure she's worth it? Zoro muttered under his breath. You don't know her like I do. This is a bargain at twice the price. She's 1 in a million at navigation and meteorology. Hopefully once I beat up her old boss anyway, she'll agree to the original offer and sail with me for free. I really don't want to have to pay one of my nakama to be my nakama any longer than I have to, Luffy whispered back. And not to sound spoiled, but I can afford it. I'm a billionaire, remember? Zoro shrugged. You're the captain, you know best. Luffy cleared his throat to get Nami's attention. Right, me and Zoro are going to go pay Buggy a visit. You can steal his treasure while we're dealing with the crew. Once that's done, we can head back to the dock and be on our way. Nami carefully tucked the check into her bosom and nodded. Got it, Luffy, wasn't it? She'd do whatever this rich bastard said so long as it didn't involve grievous bodily harm or anything perverted. The trio of teens walked through the carnage of once proud houses and buildings back towards the bar at the center of town. The party up on the roof still seemed to be in full swing. Luffy waded through the hubbub mentally to find Buggy's mine. A quick inspection left Luffy sorely disappointed. For all that he'd sailed with Gul D. Roger and Shanks, Buggy was a bully and a braggart with an inferiority complex the size of a celestial dragon's ego. He was a petty, mean, small man, and Luffy found he had no desire to get to know him personally, so he decided he might as well burn that bridge from the start. Oi, big red nose. Nami gaped. Are you suicidal? That's his berserk button. Exactly. So now he'll be entirely focused on me, allowing you to sneak in undetected. Well, what are you waiting for? Luffy prompted. Nami shook her head and vanished into the nearby warehouse, on the hunt for shiny things and green paper. Who dares to flashily talk about my nose? Came a shrieking voice from the roof. Buggy the clown came to the railing on the roof and looked down. He was dressed uniquely. Let's just leave it at that. Oh, I dare, Luffy called out, confident that this weakling who'd somehow sailed with Titans was no threat to him or Zoro. Men, prepare the buggy ball flashily. His crew moved a cannon and loaded an orange cannonball with Buggy's Jolly Roger emblazoned on it. Any last words? Shanks is 100 times the man you'll ever be, Luffy said with a taunting smirk. Zoro remained stoic at his captain's side, taking confidence from his utter lack of fear. Fire! Buggy roared. The fuse was lit, the powder ignited, the destructive buggy ball sent flying towards Luffy, who caught it like it was nothing more than an oversized baseball. The buggy pirates dislocated their jaws as they gaped at a lanky young man actually catching a massive cannonball with one hand. Luffy lobbed the ball up and down a couple times before reaffirming his grip. Your turn. Catch. With that, Luffy returned the buggy ball to its creator at triple the speed the cannon had sent it. There was a tremendous boom and the entire tavern was reduced to rubble. Luffy cricked his neck. He and his lieutenants used the underlings as shields. You take Kabaji, the unicyclist swordsman, and Moji, the beast tamer. I'll handle Buggy myself. Whatever you say, Luffy, Zoro said, tying his bandana in anticipation of a good fight. As Luffy had sensed, 3 of the buggy pirates, including the captain himself, had blocked the blast of the buggy ball by using their own nakama as human shields. They dropped the singed, unconscious unfortunates and walked out of the ruins of their temporary base onto the street. The man on the right brandished a sword and balanced atop a unicycle. The man on the left was perched on the back of a green lion with a purple mane, coiling a whip around his hand. Buggy himself had his arms crossed with a pissed expression on his clownish face. This embarrassment shall not stand. To avenge the honor of the buggy pirates, I will end you, Kabaji said, slashing at the air. Look, Richie, dinner, the beast tamer crooned into his pet's ear. Buggy glared into Luffy's eyes. That comment. You know Shanks, don't you? Yep, told me all about you. And how he did the one thing you could never forgive him for. He saved your life? Luffy grinned fairly. So he saved me from drowning one time. It's his fault I'm a hammer in the first place. Now, because of him, all the treasure under the ocean is lost to me. But I'll settle for all the treasure on land. Luffy sensed Nami about to emerge from the warehouse and mentally warned her stay inside. It's about to get messy out here. Ignoring the audible squeak as she reacted to his telepathic voice, Luffy focused on Buggy. Not all treasure is silver and gold, mate. Now, shall the butt-whooping commence? With a roar of chop-chop cannon, Buggy sent his fist laden with knives at Luffy's face. On cue, Kabaji and Moji both charged forward as well. Zoro swiftly drew his swords as Luffy casually dodged Buggy's launched limb, leaving his swordsmen to what should be an easy fight. Even 2-on-1, Luffy gave a solid punch to Buggy's solar plexus before he could split. Spittle sprayed from the clown's mouth as he folded around the blow. Hardly done, Luffy grabbed Buggy by the pigtails and brought his face down on his knee. Letting go as Buggy straightened reflexively, Luffy gave a roundhouse kick to the rival captain's side, sending him crashing into a nearby tree. The tree fell over at the force of the impact. While Buggy tried to process the last 10 seconds through the mind-numbing pain, Luffy sighed. You know, I really expected more from a member of Roger's crew. Buggy flinched and glared through the haze at his opponent. You shut your mouth. That information gets out and I'm a dead man. The world government would hound me to the ends of the world. Why do you think I settled down in this backwater blue? Because you're a coward who's never worked a day in his life with any real effort at bettering yourself. And this is the weakest ocean in the world, so you figured you'd fit right in. Buggy spat out some blood. So how do you explain yourself, you freak? You hit like a supernova, yet you're a local. How'd that happen? Luffy shrugged. Shanks taught me a thing or two. So did my Gramps, Garp the Fist. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to kick your ass all the way to the moon. With that, Luffy rushed over and indeed kicked Buggy so hard he went shooting off into the sky, creating a nice twinkly light as he vanished from view. Luffy turned from his disappointing fight to find Zoro putting the finishing touches on his own bout. Kabaji was unconscious, probably from the 3 big cuts on his torso from one of Zoro's onigiri attacks. Moji was down too, and Richie the lion seemed to be playing dead quite convincingly. That was hardly worth the effort. We need to have a spar sometime so we can really stretch our muscles. I need to work out the kinks from what you taught me somehow, Zoro said as he sheathed his swords. Agreed. Turning to the warehouse where the buggy pirates had stored their valuables, Luffy called out Nami. All clear. The pirate thief emerged, clutching a big bag of treasure. It's over already. Those guys seemed pretty tough. And that was really freaky, Captain, when I heard your voice in my head. Sorry, couldn't let them know you were there by warning you vocally. I'll avoid telepathy in the future if it bothers you, Luffy promised. And we fought, we won because we were stronger. Simple math. Now, what to do now? Find the townsfolk and let them know the pirate menace has been dealt with, or just leave and let them discover it for themselves. Nami shrugged. We ain't Marines. No need to play hero. I say we just ditch and get to where we're going as soon as possible. Seconded, Zoro said as he tied his bandana back around his bicep. Luffy nodded. Majority rules. Let's hightail it out of here. Unaware of Mayor Boodle cautiously coming over to scout out the pirate base to see what all the ruckus was about, or the noble vigil of a dog named Choo Choo, the Straw Hat Pirates returned to the dock and settled into their respective rafts. You sure we can't try to find another sail for your boat? It's got Buggy's symbol on it, Luffy griped. It's just paint on a canvas, no big deal. And do you want to go searching blindly around this dock for some spare cloth? Didn't think so, Nami countered. Now tell me where you want to go so I can earn that check. Luffy grinned nostalgically as he reviewed his mental file filled with the memories he'd absorbed from a marksman named Yasa. Gecko Island. Our sniper is waiting to be recruited. If he's half the talent his father is, that is. Reviewing her mental atlas of the East Blue, which she'd memorized in its entirety by the time she was 13. Nami pulled out a compass and calculated their heading. Got it. Just follow me. Nami sailed with utter confidence out into the open ocean, obediently followed by Luffy and Zoro. When they'd been sailing for about half an hour and the island was lost to the horizon behind them, Nami turned to her employer. So, just how exactly does your whole psychic devil fruit thing work? Luffy shrugged. I can read minds so long as they're in my range. I can also control minds if I want to, but I don't often want to. The stronger the mind, the more resistance I have to work through as my will challenges theirs. But for your average Joe, I barely even feel the effort. Control them how, exactly? Nami asked, curious and concerned in equal measure. Luffy blinked. Then the next thing Nami knew, the azure ocean waves had turned lime green. I can fool the senses, make people see things that aren't there or not see things that are there. Nami suddenly found herself patting her head and rubbing her tummy at the same time. I can make people do things, with or without realizing they're even doing them. Out of nowhere, the taste of Belmir's tangerine chicken flooded Nami's mouth. The flavor almost made her break out in tears, the powerful reminder of her childhood affecting her deeply. I can make people remember, or make them forget. Nami blinked and all the false impressions had vanished, while Luffy had a contrite expression. I can do a lot. Sorry for doing that to you, but I felt the best way for you to realize it was to experience it yourself. Nami felt a kind of very real fear slither down her spine as she realized the pure, reality-warping power locked away inside the ordinary-looking boy with the straw hat. On the way to Shell Town, when you said you could do worse than kill me, I could have you bent over and begging for my baby with a thought, either fully aware but helplessly trapped in your own head or honestly thinking that's what you wanted. I'm not sure which would be crueler, to be honest. I could make you forget how to breathe and watch you suffocate. I could wipe out every thought and memory in your head and leave you a vegetable. My power is terrifying. Nami, make no mistake. There are times I wish I'd never eaten that fruit, but then I remind myself that better me than some sociopath bent on world domination. Nami nodded slowly, processing these revelations. If Arlong had eaten your fruit, or Nezumi, then East Blue, maybe even the world, would be in really bad trouble. Luckily, I was the one to eat it, so I'm the one who gets to play with people's minds like toys. There was a troubled look on the pirate captain's face. Zoro nudged him with his boot. Cheer up, Luffy. It's got to be fun, being essentially a god over us lowly mortals. Besides, your gift can be damn useful. You taught me all that stuff the first day, remember? What stuff? Nami asked. I made a decision that I would transfer all relevantly useful memories about combat to each member of my crew. Zoro essentially had a multi-year apprenticeship to some of the best swordsmen in the world in the space of a breath. I also taught him about Haki, which is this special energy every person can unlock and use. Speaking of, you're part of the crew, even if you're on retainer. Here you go. A beat later, Nami felt a pounding headache as the secrets of observation and armament flooded her memory banks. Weathering the discomfort, she blinked. Wow, that's actually pretty cool. Little old me could punch through a concrete wall with enough armament. Nami reassessed her provisional captain. You, Luffy, are you really strong enough to beat Arlong? I've spent 10 years training for the New World, the second half of the Grand Line. An average fishman, even an above-average fishman, would be a walk in the park for me even without cheating with any mind interference. Jinbe, on the other hand, well, I might use a couple tricks to help out. Nami felt hope bloom in her chest. But years of conditioning and building Arlong on a dark pedestal in her mind could not be undone in a day. Well, if you ever happen to cross paths with him, I'll wish you luck. I'll even say something at your funeral. Luffy threw back his head and laughed. They sailed for the rest of the day, just chatting like young people were wont to do. When the sun set, they had a cold dinner from the stores they'd snagged on the way out of Orange Town. Luffy decided he might as well pass the time somehow, and joined them as they settled down to sleep. It had been a week. After all, he was overdue for some good old-fashioned slumber. The next day, they set out with the dawn in the precise direction of Gecko Island, courtesy of Nami's infallible navigational skills. Around noon, when the sun was shining directly down on them, Nami stopped and regarding the map she'd stolen from Buggy. We can't continue like this. No respectable crew, pirate or otherwise, can sail around in 2 rafts. We need a proper ship on the double. Luffy paused and biting into an apple. Believe me, Nami, we're in these dinghies by necessity, not by choice. As soon as I get wind of a chance to get a decent pirate ship, I'll jump on it, even if I have to use my powers to get it. Zoro shrugged. Would be nice to walk around while at sea. You and I could finally have our spar, Luffy. And a hammock is nicer than wooden planks. Nami nodded, satisfied that they were all on the same page. Within the hour, they were in sight of their destination. As they sailed up to the shore, Luffy tilted his head. What do you know? The guy we came here for is our welcoming committee. He thinks we're a scouting party from Buggy's crew and that he can intimidate us with some silly lie about having 80 million followers. Nami rolled her eyes. What is he for? What kind of idiot would believe such an obvious lie? Luffy chuckled. Believe it or not, before I ate my fruit and got my powers, I was pretty much the dullest tool in the shed. 7-year-old me would have been excited about getting to fight that many guys at once. Zoro tilted his head. You've talked a lot about what your fruit lets you do to other people, but it lets you do stuff to yourself as well, doesn't it? So I never forget anything and can do calculus in my head. An improved intellect doesn't really seem as exciting as being able to read every thought someone's ever had or making them sing and dance on a whim. Luffy waved off. Nami eyed her employer. How does photographic memory even work? Wouldn't you get lost in a sea of perfect recall every time something reminds you of something? How to describe it? For most people, their memories are like trying to find the right book in a dusty, ill-lit, disorganized bookshop. I've got a bright, clean, perfectly indexed library. I could spend hours reliving memories second for second, but usually I just take a quick peek to get the gist of what I want or need and then return to the present, where I'm constantly generating new memories. For example, I could repeat this entire conversation word for word this time next week if you asked me to. But it's not like I'm going to spend all of next week repeating this conversation in my head to practice. I'd just refresh my memory when you asked and then just do it. Luffy scratched the back of his head. If you want, I could try to rearrange your minds to have eidetic memory too. I've never done something that complicated, but how hard could it be? Zoro and Nami both traded looks. No offense, Luffy, but unless it's absolutely necessary, stay far, far away from my head. Please, Nami tacked on. Yeah, and I'm fine forgetting stuff. Most of it's boring. Anyway, Zoro shrugged. Luffy shrugged. Well, offers there if you change your mind. They made their way the rest of the kilometer to shore and moored their rafts on the beach they landed on. They all got off their craft and stretched, appreciating the chance to be back on terra firma. Luffy finished his little routine for when he landed on an island after a time at sea, and he looked up at some bushes atop the nearby cliff. Usopp, son of Yasopp, we mean you and your island no harm. Come out so we can discuss things like men instead of your childish ruse you were going to pull. There was a squeaky sound, but then a young man came out from hiding in the bush. He was visibly trembling, but he kept his head high. Who are you? How do you know me? And what are your intentions on this island? Pirate. Luffy chuckled and laid a hand on his hat. I am Monkey D. Luffy. This is my crew, Zoro and Nami. I know you because I met your dad when I was young and he never shut up about you. Plus my devil fruit lets me know things about people. My intentions are to get you to join my crew and be my nakama, and possibly to get a decent ship if this island has a shipyard. Usopp stopped shaking and went to his knees to lean over the edge of the cliff, as if to get a closer look at Luffy and his crew. Really? You met my father? Wait, you want me to join your crew? We just met. Luffy felt a gurgle in his stomach. How about we discuss all this over lunch? You can bring your little friends along with you if they want to come. Luffy and Co walked up the path between the two cliffs, meeting up with Usopp and his vegetable-themed minions when they reached the same elevation. The children all eyed Luffy with mixed wariness and awe. Sure, this guy had come to steal their captain away, but he was also a real pirate. He'd gone on adventures out there on the ocean. Imagine the stories he could tell. They might even put Captain Usopp's lies to shame. They made it to a charmingly small town that Usopp declared was named Syrup Village. Luffy had never seen such a peaceful place. They went to the one restaurant in town and Usopp assured them it was his treat. Once they got their food and drink, Usopp turned to Luffy across from him. So, you knew my dad. It might be easier to just show you permission to use my devil fruit on you. Luffy asked. Will it hurt? Usopp asked warily. Just a headache, Luffy promised. Then sure, I guess. Usopp watched as Luffy narrowed his eyes and then memories not his own flooded his head. Watching Yasopp show off his marksmanship, talking with him over food and drink at the pub, how Yasopp went on and on about his son Usopp. Usopp blinked and tried to straighten out his mind as the foreign memories settled into place. What did you just do? I gave you copies of all my memories of Yasopp. I also have copies of Yasopp's memories if you want to learn even more about your father, Luffy explained as he cut his next bite. I have the mind fruit. I'm a very powerful psychic. Copying and sharing memories is relatively simple for me. You could show me memories from my dad. I could see the world the way he did. Usopp asked. Sure, if you join my crew, Luffy grinned. Usopp gulped. That's dirty, he accused. Pirate, Luffy shrugged. Why do you want me on your crew in the first place? Just because I'm Yasopp's son? Usopp questioned. I want you on my crew because you're a talented sniper in your own right. And beneath the cowardice and lying you're a good man. But it's up to you whether you accept or not. I don't want half-hearted nakama on my crew. Either you're all in or you're all out, Luffy stated plainly. I'll join your crew. If you name me captain, Usopp said with a smirk. Non-negotiable no. I'm the captain, Luffy shot down without blinking. Usopp pouted. Then it seems we're not meant to be. Oh, well. Anyway, you all enjoy your meal. I have an urgent appointment. With that, Usopp took off at impressive speeds. Well, looks like we're not getting a marksman, Nami shrugged. He'll come around. The season is blood. He won't be able to resist. And it just so happens that his friend, the heiress in the mansion on the hill, has a caravel she's not using, Luffy revealed as he finished his plate. Zoro chugged a tankard of weak ale. Then I guess we better go ask her what she'll sell it for. You can afford it, Mr. Billionaire. He turned to the veggie trio. Oi, make yourselves useful. Take us to the mansion. They followed the three children up the road to Mistress Kaya's mansion. The kids explained that the heiress was sickly after the death of her parents. Captain Usopp came to offer comfort in the form of his over-the-top lies. I like the captain's cowardice, Carrot said. I like the way he sticks his nose in people's business, Pepper said. I like the way he lies, Onion said. That's not really stuff you should admire, Nami said with a sweat drop. He's the most exciting thing in this village. It's natural that they'd imprint on him, Luffy shrugged. They reached the front gate. Luffy waved his hand in a dismissive gesture. We're friends of Kaya, let us in. The guards, eyes going blank, opened the gate and let them in. The veggie trio marveled at the display of mind control. They walked in and went towards the tree by Kaya's window. Usopp was perched on a tree branch, talking with a pale blonde leaning out her open window. Mistress Kaya, I am Monkey D. Luffy. I have business to discuss with you, Luffy said, crossing his arms. Crap, he found me. Usopp flinched. Usopp, who is this? Oh, just fans of mine that want to join my crew, Usopp waved off. Correction, I want him to join my crew. But that's neither here nor there. I understand you have a ship in your possession, the Going Merry. I'd like to discuss the sale of this ship to my possession, Luffy said formally. Kaya tilted her head. You want to buy the Going Merry? Yes, please. Price is no object, Luffy said plainly. Kaya was thinking of a decent price for her family's old caravel when there was the sound of an authoritative shout. You all are trespassing. Leave immediately. Damn, the butler, Usopp muttered. Luffy turned to the new person and scanned his thoughts. He tensed as he realized who he was dealing with. Mistress Kaya, who is this? This is my head butler, Klahadore, Kaya answered. Yes, and it is my duty to take out the trash. Get out, the butler said, adjusting his glasses with the bottom of his palm. And he started working for you 3 years ago, correct? Luffy asked. Both Kaya and Klahadore paused. Yes, how did you know? Kaya asked. I have eidetic memory. I remember every bounty poster that ever came in the newspaper. Luffy explained. He turned to stare at Klahadore. You think you're the first pirate to fake his death? Kuro of the Thousand Plans. Usopp gaped. Wait, he's a pirate. Kaya covered her mouth. No, it can't be. The revealed Kuro glanced side to side. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't try to lie. I can read your mind. Why don't you tell your boss your nefarious little plan? Luffy asked before narrowing his eyes as he focused. Kuro went blank-eyed. Tomorrow, my former crew will attack the village. In the chaos, my hypnotist will force Mistress Kaya to write a will leaving everything to me. Then he'll kill her. And then I'll kill all my crew to protect my secret. Wealth and a peaceful life, my ultimate ambition. Kaya was crying. Klahadore, after all we've been through, how could you? I invested 3 years of my life into this ruse, into becoming a pillar of the community, into earning your and your fool parents' trust. This is my reward, Kuro said, still under the truth compulsion. Luffy turned to Kaya. I suggest we tie him up and hand him over to the Marines. Though I ask that you wait to do so until after my crew and I leave. Marines and pirates, even the good kind, don't mix well. Oh, of course. I'm sorry, this is an awful lot to take. Bring him inside. We should be able to find some rope, Kaya said, seemingly drawing on some inner strength. They all went into the mansion, where the situation was explained to an incredulous Mary. Nami took the rope and expertly tied up Kuro. Once he was immobilized, and the hidden knives on his person removed by Luffy, Luffy had him go to sleep. He was placed in a closet to be forgotten. Now, Captain Luffy, I understand you want to purchase the Going Merry. Kaya asked. Yes, Mistress Kaya, Luffy nodded. Then here is my price. Defend the village from the pirate attack tomorrow. Protect us all. Do this, and I'll gift you the Going Merry. Luffy bowed. Consider it done. He turned to his crew and a dithering Usopp. This should be easy. Zoro and I will handle most of them. Nami will fleece them blind, and Usopp can pick them off at a distance. Oi, oi, oi. I'm not part of your crew, Usopp protested. No, but pirates are about to attack your hometown. Are you going to cower in your home and hope they don't get to you? Or are you going to fight to save those you love? Luffy asked pointedly. Usopp gulped, but he straightened his posture. Okay, I'll help out. Excellent. So, do we sail out to their ship and attack on their home turf, or do we wait until dawn when they come ashore? Luffy mused. I say we get them today. Why waste time? Zoro asked, hands on his swords. No way, we should trap the hell out of their landing ground. Nami argued. Can't Luffy just make them all fall asleep or give up without a fight? Usopp asked. Luffy winced. I don't like using my powers like that. I like the illusion of a fair fight. Then I also vote we wait for them to land. I have plenty of traps we could use to give us an advantage in a fight, Usopp said. Fine, majority rules. We wait, Luffy said. They're going to attack on the same cliff where we docked. We might as well start preparing. They made a quick stop at Usopp's home to pick up a couple barrels of oil and Mikaboshi spikes. They reached the cliff where they'd stashed their boats. They covered the lower half of the slope with oil and the upper half with the spikes. Usopp brushed his hands with satisfaction. No way any of them are getting up this slope. So you and Nami will be safe up here, where you can snipe them, while Zoro and I get down there to fight the crew, Luffy mused. Usopp looked from Luffy down to the trapped slope. How do you plan to get down there without getting hurt? Luffy casually jumped and then, to the other three's shock, began jumping on thin air. It's called moonwalk, one of 6 secret martial arts techniques taught to the Cypher Pauls and high-ranking Marines. I'll carry Zoro down there and we'll wreak merry havoc on the Black Cat pirates. They waited through the night, taking sleep in shifts. At dawn's first light, the Bez and Black sailed in and docked on the beach. The Black Cat pirates disembarked. The crew quickly noticed that the way forward had been blocked. A random pirate said, Captain Django, the path's booby-trapped. An oddly dressed man with heart-shaped sunglasses looked up. Who said I'm weird? Nobody, Captain, an underling said with a sweat drop. Luffy called out to them. We are the Straw Hat Pirates. This village is under our protection. We've already dealt with Kuro. Turn around right now and save yourselves a lot of pain. Django, the interim captain of the Black Cat Pirates, considered his options. How do I know YOV actually beat Captain Kuro? Luffy vanished in a blur of speed. 10 seconds later, he returned with Kuro's tied-up body. He dropped it at his feet. This proof enough. Django's eyes widened behind his sunglasses. Usopp stared at Luffy. Did you seriously run back to the mansion, grab him, and get back here that fast? Another of the 6 powers. I'll show you later if you want, Luffy explained. Kuro stirred. He looked up and saw his former crew assemble. Django, release me. Kill these brats. Django looked from his crew, to the trapped path, to his immobilized captain. Frankly, Captain, you're not worth the effort. Men, back aboard. We're not raiding anyone today. We haven't had a good raid in months, whined one pirate. Idiot, those kids managed to beat Captain Kuro. We're getting off lucky here. The pirates reboarded the Bez and Black and took off in a faraway direction. We didn't get to fight, Zoro all but pouted. I didn't get to loot them, Nami said. Put out. Why fight when you can negotiate? All one needs is the proper leverage. Luffy shrugged as he laid a foot on Kuro's body. So your order of action is talk, fight, devil fruit? Usopp asked. In that order, yes. Kuro squirmed, but Nami did good work. I'll kill you all. Go to sleep, Luffy ordered. Kuro was out like a light. They carried Kuro back to the mansion, the townsfolk gaping at seeing Klahadore in ropes. There was something of an angry mob forming when Kaya ventured out her mansion to address the crowd. My fellow villagers, be at peace. Klahadore has been revealed to be a pirate in disguise. These young people saved my life from a dastardly plot to kill me and inherit my fortune. This is not Klahadore, but Kuro of the Thousand Plans. The Syrup villagers gaped, but they weren't going to doubt Kaya's word. They went back to their homes, muttering about how you never really knew a person. You seem to be doing better, Luffy commented as he stuck Kuro back in his closet. My sickness was caused by my grief over my parents' death. Usopp's stories helped to alleviate the pain. I've decided I can't live in mourning anymore, Kaya said with a faint smile. Anyway, the Going Merry will be ready this afternoon, which gives you a few hours to pack, Usopp, Luffy said with a grin. Hey, I never agreed to join your crew, Usopp protested. Ask yourself, Usopp, how do you want to be remembered? As the town liar, or as the sniper to the Pirate King, a brave warrior of the sea? Luffy asked solemnly. Usopp felt his resistance start to crumble. I could die, true enough. But what a chance to live before you do, Luffy grinned. Plus, this could be your only chance to meet your father. He's not leaving the New World anytime soon. But we're headed there. Usopp bit his lip. Kaya came forward to lay a hand on his shoulder. Do it, Usopp. Go live your dream. Imagine the stories you tell me when you come back. Usopp looked to his friend and found his resolve. I'm co-captain, he declared. Second mate. And be glad I'm giving you that much, Luffy brutally countered. Fine, I've gotta go pack. Usopp went and ran for his home. Luffy and his crew bought supplies for their journey and loaded them into the Going Merry while its creator Mary finished calibrating everything. Finally, in the afternoon, the butler declared she's ready. The Straw Hat Pirates admired their new ship, while Mary told Nami about the technical information. Luffy and Zoro just admired their new home. At that moment, Usopp came rolling down the hill with a backpack bigger than he was. Luffy sighed and caught the human wrecking ball before it impacted the ship. Does the phrase travel light mean anything to you? Luffy asked his new sniper. I didn't want to forget anything, Usopp protested. Usopp had a private goodbye with Kaya. Then he boarded the Going Merry. As they set forth, Luffy filled 4 glasses with ale. To our new ship and new crewmate. Cheers. Cheers. The other three echoed, clinking their glasses. At Nami's insistence, they made a trip to the mysterious treasure island. There they met Gaiman, the wonderful hybrid animals of the island, and the curious case of the 5 chests. Luffy quickly got to the top of the cliff and revealed to the man stuck in a box that all 5 were empty. The former pirate was in a way relieved, as he finally had closure. They had a small party and then left, waving farewell. The next day, Luffy conscripted Usopp to paint the Jolly Roger on their flag and sail. The hidden artist that was Usopp did an excellent job. By noon, the Going Merry was emblazoned with her crew's mark. Our ship is complete, Luffy proclaimed. Yes, yes. Now, do you have a destination in mind or should we keep aimlessly wandering? Nami asked pointedly. Luffy opened his mouth to answer when he stopped to tilt his head. Luffy turned to point at an outcropping. 2 of Zoro's old friends are stuck out there. Let's go save them. Hey, I don't have any old friends, Zoro said, confused. It's Johnny and Yosaku. If they aren't your friends, then what are they? Luffy asked. Annoying little brothers, that's what. What mess have they got into now? Zoro sighed. From what I can tell, Yosaku has scurvy. I'm going to make some limeade. Luffy went into the galley to make the citrusy drink. By the time they reached the spit of land in the middle of the ocean, the drink was ready. What do you want, pirates? Demanded Johnny, waving his sword. Zoro looked over the railing to look at his old hangers-on. Johnny, grab Yosaku and get on board. Big bro Zoro, what are you doing on a pirate ship? I had a change in career. Now get up here. Johnny carrying Yosaku's limp body. He reached the deck and laid his fellow bounty hunter on the floor. Oh, big bro Zoro. Yosaku is very ill. I don't know what to do. It's just scurvy. Drink this, Luffy instructed, lifting Yosaku's head to drink the limeade. Will that liquid save Yosaku's life, big bro pirate? Johnny asked desperately. It'll get him out of the danger zone. Consistent good diet and nutrition are a must to avoid this happening again, Luffy explained. Scurvy used to be a big problem with sailors until we learned how to properly store fruits and vegetables. Now vitamin deficiencies like this are rare. Nami elaborated. Yosaku finished the glass of limeade and burst to his feet. I'm cured. No one heals that fast. Nami yelled at the bounty hunters as they did a little dance. Hi, I'm Johnny, the one with the sunglasses said. And I'm Yosaku, said the other, having pulled a lit cigarette from somewhere. And we are the pirate bounty hunter duo, they announced. They used to follow me around while I hunted bounties, Zoro supplied. Yosaku moved to say something but collapsed forward. Luffy caught him. Let's get you in a cot until you're actually cured, Luffy suggested. As they had lunch, Usopp raised the point this proves we need a skilled sea cook. We can't afford to get sick from poor nutrition. One who can fight, not be useless, Zoro said around a bite. Johnny finished his plate and stood up. If a fighting cook is what you need, there's no place better than the Barady. It's a restaurant at sea, and all the cooks are trained in combat. Luffy got up and adjusted the tiller. North-northeast, right? Yes, big bro Luffy is so smart. Johnny marveled. Later that afternoon, when Yosaku was actually back on his feet, they saw a ship anchored in the distance. It looks like a fish, Usopp with his sharp eyes noted. Great, am I the only one to see the marine ship almost on top of us? Luffy pointed out. The crew looked to starboard and realized a battleship was right next to them. A man with pink hair and brass knuckles came out and regarded them disdainfully. I am Marine Lieutenant Fullbody. I don't recognize that mark. Who among you is the captain? Luffy, holding Usopp back, stepped forward. I am Monkey D. Luffy, captain of the Straw Hat Pirates. Our mark was painted just this morning. Well, I'm not on duty at the moment, so I have no reason to attack you. Then he turned and, Luffy hearing with his trained senses, that ship's an eyesore. Sink it. Luffy sighed. You don't want to shoot us, he told the team that went to load the cannon. We don't want to shoot you, they said dully. You're going to go free the prisoner. We're going to go free the prisoner, the 3 men said, before heading below decks. Wow, big bro Luffy is very convincing, Yosaku exclaimed. He ate a devil fruit, idiot. He can read and control other people's minds, Nami corrected. I like to think I have a natural charisma of my own, though, Luffy pouted. They docked with the Barady, disembarking onto the floating restaurant. Luffy took a moment to read all the cook's minds, searching for a good fit for his crew. He found it in the lost prince of Germa Kingdom. Sanji was a good man, a good fighter, and a better cook. After Zeph, he was the best on the Barady, and Luffy's crew deserved the best. Karn led them to a table for 6, muttering about unreliable waiters. Luffy glanced at the menu, but his eye was on Sanji serving the Marine Lieutenant Fullbody. This ought to be good. Fullbody put a bug in his soup to embarrass Sanji, who replied masterfully. Outraged, Fullbody swept all the cutlery onto the floor. As the Pinkette ranted about being a paying customer, Sanji knelt to touch the spilled soup like it was the blood of a comrade. Can money fill your stomach? Sanji demanded, cutting off Fullbody's rant. What followed was a skilled display of leg-based martial arts. After beating the Marine to a pulp, Sanji held him up by his neck. Messing with a cook of the sea is a surefire way to get killed. Patty came out of the bathroom and scolded Sanji for attacking a customer. Sanji rebutted that Fullbody wasted food, letting go of his victim as he did. Fullbody went on about having the Barady shut down. Sanji growled, "Then I guess I can't let you leave." Sanji was held back from his would-be homicide by the other cooks. Then Zeph, the owner, came down. Fullbody thought that was a reprieve, only for the middle-aged man to kick him towards the door. "Get out of here, you waste of space." At that moment, a panicked Marine came in, declaring the prisoner had escaped. Fullbody said that was impossible. They'd found his half-starved and hadn't fed him in the 3 days since. Then the Marine was shot in the back. A woman screamed. Devilman Jin of the Krieg Pirates stumbled in. He sat down at the nearest table and said, "Don't care what it is. Get me some food." Patty put on his customer face and asked how Jin would be paying. The pirate held up his pistol. "You take lead." Patty brought down his hands in a haymaker, breaking the table as he knocked Jin to the ground. "No money, no food," Patty said, kicking Jin out the door. Luffy alone noticed Sanji vanish for the kitchen. Excusing himself, Luffy made himself invisible in the eyes of everyone in the restaurant. He wanted to see what his future chef would do. Jin was nursing his wounds when Sanji laid a plate of fried rice and a glass of water on the deck in front of him. "I won't accept charity. Take it away," Jin demanded. "It's a terrible thing to starve at sea, to have no food or water on the vast ocean. I know that feeling better than anyone. I understand if you want to die for your pride. But if you live, can't you defend that pride tomorrow?" Sanji asked. Better men than Jin had caved to true hunger. He scarfed down the meal. "Delicious. It's too delicious. I thought I'd never eat again." Sanji grinned around a cigarette. "It's good, huh? Well, this cinches it. I want you as my cook." Jin and Sanji looked around, not seeing the source of the voice. "I'm right here," the voice said, before Luffy appeared sitting on the deck next to them. Sanji's jaw dropped. You ate the clear fruit." "No, I ate the mind fruit. I stopped you from seeing me rather than physically turning invisible. It's also how I know you better than you know yourself," Vinsmoke Sanji. Sanji flinched. "I gave up that name a long time ago." "Fair enough. So to me you're just Sanji, my cook. I don't recall ever agreeing to join your crew, whoever you are." "No, but you will. I'm not leaving until you do." "And the name's Monkey D. Luffy of the Straw Hat Pirates." "Well, hit the road, Monkey D. Luffy. I'm not leaving this restaurant. Because you owe Zeph your life, I know. But do you think he saved you so you could waste your life in a restaurant or so you could go out and live your dream? Sail with me, and I guarantee we'll find all blue," Luffy cajoled. "How can you possibly guarantee that?" "Because I met a guy who's been there," Luffy said simply. Sanji turned wide eyes on Luffy. "How do you know he wasn't lying?" "Thoughts don't lie. I read his mind. I have the memories. It's in the far end of the new world, so most don't live to see it. But it exists. I could take you there if you join my crew." Sanji seemed very tempted. Then he shrugged. "I'm not leaving until the old man acknowledges my talent." Luffy sighed. "The hard way it is. I'm going to nag you until you join just to make me stop." Sanji snorted. "Good luck with that." Excuse me." The two turned to Jin. "I'm Jin of the Krieg Pirates. Am I correct that you're sailing for the Grand Line?" "Yep, going to be the Pirate King," Luffy said with absolute confidence. "How many are on your crew?" Jin asked, counting Sanji. 5. "And yes, I know there's plenty of treasure in East Blue. But One Piece is in the Grand Line. So to the Grand Line we go. And no offense, but we'll have a log pose when we do. 50 ships and you didn't even have the special compass for the Grand Line. You just wandered aimlessly through the climate nexus until you ran into Mihawk and ran away through the comm belt. Pretty massive failure, you have to admit." Jin had wide eyes. "How did you? Right, you read minds. What's this about a log pose? As I'm sure you noticed, ordinary compasses don't work on the Grand Line. Every island has a unique magnetic field. A log pose points to the nearest field, and after a certain amount of time, memorizes that island and points to the next. Navigation on the Grand Line is basically a giant game of connect the dots." Jin gulped. "How do you know this?" "I read the minds of a few people who have been to the Grand Line. I know more about it than probably anyone in East Blue." Jin nodded, eyes calculating. Luffy, having little to no concept of privacy after 10 years of knowing everyone's secrets, added, "You can tell Krieg about me. But he won't recruit or kidnap me. He tries, I'll kick his ass. Just fair warning, Jin." The right-hand man of Don Krieg winced. "Sorry, but I have to report this. It's up to the Don what happens after. Whatever will be, Luffy shrugged. Sanji set Jin up with a spare boat. Zeph appeared on the second floor railing. "You giving away free food again, little eggplant?" Jin held his head. "You're going to get in trouble because of me." Sanji casually dropped the plate and glass into the ocean. "Now there's no proof." Zeph hid a grin as Jin sailed away and Sanji and Luffy re-entered the Barady. Luffy took his seat. "Has someone taken our order yet?" No, and it's been 20 minutes. Based on the action earlier, I'm guessing all the waiters quit because they can't handle the stress, Usopp mused. There was a sharp mind behind that super long nose. So, you picked a cook yet? Zoro asked, sipping his water. Yes, Sanji, the blonde from earlier. Now it's just a question of seeing who's more stubborn, me or him, Luffy grinned. How you going to convince him? Nami asked. Love. What a wondrous goddess that greets my eyes. What is her name, young lady? No wait, don't tell me. A mere mortal such as I is not worthy, Sanji shouted, coming down to one knee before Nami and holding a rose while hiding his crying eyes in his sleeve. Maybe you just need to ask him, Luffy said, sweat dropping. Just because he could read minds doesn't mean he always understood them. And the lady worship quirk of Sanji's was beyond him. Shrugging, Nami told Sanji, I'm Nami. Nami, a beautiful name. What can I get you on this glorious day, beautiful woman? Sanji paused in his noodle dance with pink hearts to glare at the rest of them. What do you shitheads want? Such unequal treatment. Usopp gaped. Johnny and Yasaku merely ordered. Filet mignon, Luffy picked. He always loved a good cut of meat. Something light, please. And I'd appreciate it if I didn't have to pay, Nami said, caressing Sanji's cheek. He all but dissolved into a puddle of goo. Why don't you take that straw hat up on his offer, little eggplant? Zeph said from the stairs to the kitchen. Sanji returned to normal and glared up at his father figure. Hey, what's that, shitty geezer? You get into fights all the time. You flirt with every woman you see, and you're a pain in my ass. Just leave and sail with their crew, Zeph stated. I'm not leaving until you acknowledge I'm a better cook than you. I'll stay until you die if I have to, Sanji countered. I'm living at least 100 more years, Zeph dismissed, walking back up to the kitchen on his peg leg. Well, isn't that great? He gave you his blessing. Luffy grinned. I'm not sailing with you, Sanji protested. Famous last words, Zoro chuckled. For the next 3 days, Luffy was Sanji's annoying shadow. He followed him around, giving a constant repeat of some variation of join my crew. Even in sleep, Sanji had no release. Luffy decided to invade his dreams and fill them with hypothetical adventures on the high sea, discovering unknown ingredients, meeting beautiful women, having fun with his nakama. It's not that Sanji wasn't tempted. He just felt too beholden to Zeph. Until the older man acknowledged Sanji was a good cook, he wouldn't leave. But his willpower was steadily crumbling under Luffy's nonstop assault. Luffy was tempted to just mind control Zeph into admitting what he already believed, that Sanji was a phenomenal cook, but that felt too much like cheating. On the morning of the 4th day, Luffy tilted his head. Guess Jin gave a good review. His captain decided to come visit the Barady himself, and what's left of his crew. The Straw Hats perked up. Don Krieg is coming, Nami asked. She wasn't worried, not with monsters like Zoro and Luffy to protect her. Still, he was the second highest bounty in East Blue, and he's just as worse off as Jin was. He's on the verge of starving, Luffy shrugged. Well, let's get a good seat for the show. The 4 pirates and the 2 bounty hunters got their usual table for breakfast. Luffy had accrued a considerable tab, which he planned to clear with 1 zenith check before he left. As they got comfortable, a customer noticed the approaching galleon. It's Don Krieg's ship. The hourglasses on his flag mean our time is up. Run away. There was a mass exodus. Luffy eyed the uneaten plates of food hungrily. But he wasn't a dog or pig. Shaking his head, he listened to the drag thump of Jin supporting his captain into the restaurant. The door opened, to reveal a large man with a fur cape and a tropical shirt. He looked half dead, held up by Jin at his side. Don Krieg fell to his knees and bowed to the assembled cooks. Food, water, I'll pay anything. Please, he begged. Don, don't. Someone as great as you shouldn't beg. Jin looked up at the cooks. Please, we have money this time. That makes us customers. Get him some food. Are you kidding? That's Don Krieg. We're not giving him a crust of bread. Patty snorted. No one likes a hypocrite. Patty, Luffy commented from where his crew was calmly sitting. What you talking about? Patty demanded. Your problem with Jin was he couldn't afford to pay. Now he's back, with money, and still you deny him and his guest. A man who's inconsistent in principles will never make it far in life, Luffy said with the wisdom of a sage. Patty squirmed. If it were anyone else, I'd take the money. But that's Don Krieg. The man's notorious for betrayal tactics. Flying false colors, a fake surrender, nothing is beneath him. We feed him and he'll probably thank us by killing us. Out of the way, Patty, Sanji said, with a kick to his fellow's face. He laid a bowl of fried rice and a bottle of spring water in front of Don Krieg. Here, Jin looked up at Sanji with such gratitude. Sanji, what are you doing, Sanji? Are you secretly Krieg's henchman? Karn demanded. He's a cook. Anyone who's hungry is a customer, Luffy explained. And Sanji, I'd get out of arm's reach of him if I were you. Sanji rose a swirly brow but backed up a few steps. As Don Krieg finished his meal, he sprung to his feet. That food was tasty, and I like this ship. No one would ever suspect it was a pirate ship. I'll take it. Jin looked up at his captain in confused horror. But, Don, you said you'd only come for the food. Krieg gripped his underling's shoulder painfully tight. There's about 100 men still alive on my ship. I want meals for all of them. Sanji lit a cigarette and turned for the kitchen. Patty, having recovered, asked, "Where you going, Sanji?" "To the kitchen. We have 100 meals to prepare. Don't get him wrong. He'll kick the ass of any pirate who comes to take the Barady. But he sees it as his duty to feed the hungry, no matter their intentions." Luffy illuminated for the cooks of the Barady. Sanji held out his hands. "I'm a simple cook. If you need to kill me for doing what I do, then that's up to you." His response was a blow to the back of the head from Patty. "Sanji, I know you feed the people I kick out. Maybe that's a good thing, but in this case it just can't be allowed." And so saying, Patty pulled out a cannon shaped like a crawfish. "Here's dessert. Syrup meatball." His hand stopped before he could pull the trigger. Patty began to sweat as he repeatedly tried to move his finger, and it simply refused to budge. "What the? I'm doing this for your own good, Patty. He's wearing armor and he's got more weapons on him than a munitions shop. You'd just piss him off if you fired," Luffy said. Don Krieg turned to Luffy. You're the psychic. You read minds and control them. And the only reason I haven't had you plant a bullet in your own brain is because I wouldn't be comfortable doing that. I'd rather beat you to death with my bare hands," Luffy said flatly. Don Krieg laughed. "Who are you to think you can beat me? I'm the strongest man in East Blue. I am the grandson of Monkey D. Garp, and I was raised training myself like a Grand Line Marine. I could kill you with one finger if I wanted, Woot steel armor and all. But I'll let you feed your crew first before we start fighting." "I'd rather they not die," Luffy shrugged. Don Krieg had an arrogant grin. I could use you. Join my crew and I'll shower you with riches." "No thanks. I'll stick to my own crew," Luffy said. Don Krieg frowned. It wasn't a negotiation. It was an order. "No one disobeys me." Luffy narrowed his eyes. Don Krieg found himself on his hands and knees, going arf, arf. Jin and the Barady cooks looked on in amazement and horror. "No one makes me do anything I don't want to do. I make other people do what they don't want to do." Luffy was solemn as the grave. Luffy stopped the dog compulsion just as Zeph came down with a giant sack of food. "Here's 100 meals. Take 'em and get out." Krieg, recovering from his brief episode thinking he was a canine, eyed the owner with wide eyes. "It's you, Red Leg Zeph, the pirate captain who was also the ship's cook." Krieg grinned. "So this is where you've been hiding out." "I got out of the pirate business. I'm a humble chef now," Zeph shrugged. "Not like you had a choice. Once you lost your leg," Krieg noted harshly. "As long as I've got 2 hands, I can cook. That's all that matters to me." "Well, there's one more thing I want. Your logbook. You sailed the Grand Line for a year. It must be full of secrets on how to survive that sea. Give it to me." "Hell no. That logbook is the pride of my crew. I won't give it to you. Mr. couldn't survive the Grand Line." Krieg grit his teeth. "I had everything. The men, the ships, the weapons. All I lacked was information. Once I have that, I'll conquer that sea. I will become the Pirate King. Correction, after I kick your ass, I'll become Pirate King. You'll be nothing but a footnote in the history of my reign." Luffy grinned. Then he tilted his head. "Oh, wow, do you guys have bad luck?" "What is it, Luffy?" Jin asked. "Nothing I feel like warning you about. Just get those meals to your crew. They don't have long to eat them." Krieg frowned, but he grabbed the sack and headed out the door. "When I come back, I'm taking this ship and the logbook. Any who stand in my way will die." Jin was on his knees. "How did this happen?" "He promised we'd just come for food. He's a dishonest man, Jin. And a dishonest man you can always trust to be dishonest." Luffy shrugged. "I won't deny I'll enjoy kicking his ass." "Get in line," Sanji said. "But, you helped us. Why would you attack us?" Jin asked. "Let me spell it out. Your crew and captain came to me hungry. I fed them. Now that that's done, I don't give 2 shits about any of you. If you dare attack this restaurant, I'll respond with deadly force. We clear?" Jin gulped. "Zoro, I hope you've been practicing. Because you're about to be in for the fight of your life," Luffy warned. "Why's that?" Zoro asked, tilting his head. "Because Mihawk followed them through the comm belt. He's in my range, which means we're all effectively in a kill box if he gets motivated." Nami's eyes widened. "Hawkeye, Mihawk is here." Her answer was the sound of a galleon being cut in half. They all rushed outside. The Krieg pirate's ship was sinking, cut perfectly in half. Nami rushed to the Going Merry. "You 2 losers, help me. The ship will sink if we don't do something." Johnny and Yasaku joined Nami in saving the Going Merry. Luffy, Zoro, Usopp, and Sanji just observed the ship sink. When things settled, they noticed the raft sailing through the wreckage. Jin shuddered. "That's him, the hawk-eyed man. He destroyed over half our fleet single-handedly, with no provocation." "Maybe you interrupted his nap. When you're that powerful, little things like that are all the excuse you need," Zeph mused. A Krieg pirate called out, "Why did you follow us back here? Why are you after us?" The bare-chested man with a coat and pants and a massive black blade looked up from under his hat, his yellow eyes keen as any blade. "For sport." The pirate roared in rage and fired his pistols at Mihawk. In a move too fast for most there to see, Mihawk diverted the bullets with his sword. Zoro walked forward. I've never seen such graceful swordplay. A sword without grace is just an iron bar. Mihawk shrugged. He eyed Zoro curiously. You carry yourself like a true swordsman, but you lack the strength to back it up. Curious. My captain taught me secrets of swordplay beyond my level. I know more than I should for my strength and experience level. This is true. Still, I'm here and ready. You're looking to kill time, right? How about a spar? Mihawk sighed. If you were a true swordsman, you'd know before we crossed blades that this fight is hopeless. What is it that makes you challenge me? Pride, ego, my ambition, and a vow on a fallen friend, Zoro said, tying his bandana. Mihawk shrugged and jumped from his raft to the piece of wreckage Zoro was standing on. I suppose I can spare a few minutes to end your life. Luffy silently watched as Zoro drew his 3 swords. Live, please, let him live. Mihawk pulled a knife from his necklace. The blade was 2 inches at most. Are you kidding me? Zoro demanded. I'm not the kind to hunt a rabbit with a cannon. Unfortunately, this knife is the smallest I have, Mihawk said with casual disregard for Zoro's threat level. Zoro tamed his anger and focused. Armament, hardening, he hissed as his 3 blades turned black. Mihawk raised a brow, but hardened his own knife. Zoro opened up with an onigiri, which Mihawk blocked casually with his knife. Zoro didn't let that dissuade him, and he unleashed his best flurry of blows. Mihawk blocked all of them without even moving that fast. Why is that idiot fighting him? Doesn't he know he's going to die? Sanji bit out. Everybody dies eventually. It's living with yourself that's the trick. If Zoro let this opportunity pass by, he wouldn't be able to bear the shame. He'd rather die fighting than live a coward. If you don't understand putting your life on the line for your dream, then maybe you're not the right cook for my crew after all, Luffy explained. Sanji frowned and smoked a cigarette. Mihawk dodged the latest slash and stabbed Zoro until his blade was less than an inch from piercing his aorta. Zoro refused to back off. Mihawk tilted his head. Aren't you afraid? If you don't move back, you'll die. I don't know why. I just feel that if I back off, all my vows, all my promises, and many other oaths up till now will be forfeit, and I'll never be able to stand before you again, Zoro said, blood leaking out his mouth. Yes, that's called defeat, Mihawk explained. Death before defeat, then, Zoro said with absolute conviction. Mihawk hummed. Then he withdrew his knife. Boy, state your name. Zoro got in the stance for his best attack. Oronoa Zoro. As a gesture from one swordsman to another, my black sword, Yoru, will end you. Mihawk drew his legendary blade. 3-sword-style ultimate attack. 3,000 worlds, Zoro proclaimed, giving 3 powerful slashes at Mihawk, who gave 1 slash of Yoru. The 2 swords in Zoro's hands broke. Zoro sighed and sheathed Wado Ikamanchi. Then he turned and offered his torso to Mihawk. At the master swordsman's confused look, Zoro grinned. Wounds on the back are a swordsman's shame. Brilliant, Mihawk breathed. Then he sliced Zoro from shoulder to hip. Luffy rushed with shave and moonwalk and grab Zoro and bring him to the Mary. Treat him, Luffy instructed Nami, the only one who had any medical training on the crew, leaving her to desperate first aid. Luffy returned to the deck of the Barady. Mihawk turned to the going Mary. It's too soon for you to die. Grow, see the world. Surpass yourself. Surpass me. Oronoa Zoro. Zoro held up Wado. Until I face that man again. I refuse to lose. I am never going to lose again. You okay with that, Pirate King? Luffy grinned. Sure thing. You are his captain. What is your ambition? Mihawk asked. One Piece, Luffy said simply. That's a hard path. Harder even than surpassing me, Mihawk noted. I'll walk it anyway, Luffy stated. A good match, you two. I hope to see you again. Mihawk sheathed Yoru and jumped back to his raft. Krieg spoke up. Wait, Mihawk, didn't you come here for my head, the most wanted man in East Blue? I did it first, but I've had enough fun. Time to go home and nap. Krieg, not able to bear the insult, fired his full barrage of guns at Mihawk. The swordsman sighed. A true fool. There was a blast of water, and Mihawk's raft vanished. Luffy cricked his neck as the Krieg pirates seemed to recover and remember their captain's order to seize the Barady. Be right back, Luffy said before vanishing in a blur of shave. Each of the Krieg pirates was knocked out by a blow moving too fast for them to see. Luffy reappeared on the deck of the Barady to see the last of the grunts pass out. Krieg gulped. I'll give you this one chance. Take your men and go. You can roll the roost here in East Blue. The Grand Line is mine, Luffy stated with crossed arms. Krieg wasn't going to back down that easy. He pulled out a cannon from his shoulder plate. Poison bomb. MH5 he paused, freezing as if every muscle locked. If you're going to resort to dirty tricks like that, then you're not worth letting live. But I won't kill you, just leave you a vegetable. Eternally helpless, your crew constantly looking after you. Seems like a suitable punishment for you, Luffy mused before focusing. Krieg collapsed in a dead faint, his mind wiped clean. All upper functions were shut down. He was effectively only technically alive, but dead in every meaningful definition of the word. Luffy turned to Jin. Take your crew and get out, Luffy said. Jin nodded and started loading his crew into the same raft that had transported him back to the Krieg pirates. Luffy turned to Sanji. So, you coming with or not? Sanji sucked deeply on his cigarette. A bunch of crazy dreamers, that's what you are. Guess I'll fit right in. Fine, I'll be your cook. Luffy grinned. You have an hour to pack. Then we're leaving. Luffy waited with his crew, aiding Nami in patching up Zoro, who insisted they just pour some beer on it and he'd be fine. Luffy knocked him out to shut him up. Once the stitches were done, Luffy and Nami went to the sink to wipe the blood off their hands. Where we going next? She asked. Arlong Park. You're still beholden to Arlong. I'm going to kick his ass and steal you away from my crew. Luffy grinned. Nami gulped. You can really beat him. Nami, you truly don't understand how small your worldview is. If you knew how strong some New World pirates or the admirals truly are, you'd marvel that you were ever afraid of a little fish like Arlong. I can beat him with my eyes closed. Nami swallowed. I hope you're telling the truth. Sanji walked up to the Going Merry at the end of his hour, briefcase and a sack in hand. Patty and Karn tried to give him a violent goodbye, but they were viciously countered. Sanji was just about to climb up onto the Going Merry when Zeph called out Sanji. Don't catch cold. That opened the floodgates. Sanji prostrating himself and thanking Zeph for all he owed him. His tears set off the rest of the Barady cooks. Zeph hid his own tears. Idiots. Men should say goodbye with silence. Sanji climbed onto the deck and waved goodbye as they sailed away. Okay, sadly the chapter is over. And if you enjoyed the video, just leave a like and subscribe with post notification, so when the next chapter is ready, you will be notified. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.